Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. How's that, Marky D?
Down under.
Down Under.
Man, it's good. The more that you do it, the more that I like saying it, and then the fans getting around. It's really our new, here we go, Steelers. It's our down under.
Touchdown under. The Steelers didn't go undefeated. No, they didn't.
No,
they didn't
they
go
didn't.
undefeated in the preseason, but
No.
it is what it is.
I'm kind of glad they didn't, though. For one little bit, you don't really want to go undefeated because then do you go into the Bills game thinking, you go 5-0? So it's a refresher to start the season, I think. But still, this game yesterday, they didn't seem very prepared, and I don't care who's on the field. If it's Joe Blow Schmo or TJ Watt, you need to be prepared for these games. And they weren't.
Joe Blow Schmo. I like Joe.
Yes.
The next guy to become the inside linebacker, Joe Blow Schmo. No, but I agree with you, Mark. You hit the nail on the head there, without a doubt. It doesn't matter whether we're seeing the starters or we're not. That was atrocious. Now, look, I get that they sat out Rudolph. I mean, if we start bringing up Mason Rudolph versus Dwayne Haskins, we're going to end up in a very much divided, base in discussion there. But the point being, they even left a lot of guys at home on the starting offensive line. I get the strategy, but honestly, I expected more out of yesterday, and I think this, to a degree, the Steelers coaches probably expected more too, because we've seen the cuts already coming, and the trimming down of that roster. So, actually, speaking of trimming, Port Naquemba asked the question: Mark, are the barbershops in Sydney closed due to coronavirus?
You just said two puns because you saw that comment come up. You got distracted by the live chat right there. You said cutting down and trimming, and it is it's getting pretty long, man. I need to get and I don't want to do it like a makeshift one. I want to go to a real barbershop.
Mate, they should sponsor us, but I picked up a little wall clipper a few weeks ago from the shaver shop, and I gave myself a trim. I need to do another one soon.
I always find that shop really funny. It's just a shop about shavers, right? Only the one shop, and you go in there, and imagine being a salesman there in the shaver shop. That you have to identify that there are 19 different shavers, and how do you identify that everyone is different? I just couldn't do it.
But they sell women's stuff as well, like hair straighteners.
Yeah, fair
and all that
enough.
sort of stuff.
But I used to sell travel in the before this stuff happened. But then if I was a salesman for to be a groom guy, I'd like to have a trimmer that cuts beards and maybe that also cuts hair. Well, you've got a selection of 19 here. Well, what's the difference between all 19? Nothing really, just the brand.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
But let's get back to yesterday's game, and then obviously we haven't even come live since we did the preview before the Lions game as well. There's some disappointments there. If we run through the players that the Steelers have cut, they've cut Marcus Ball. I don't think anyone's surprised there. Tony Brooks-James, that's no surprise. Shakur Brown, I think, is interesting. I do see him as someone that may make that practice squad if he passes waivers, but I think, even I was high on him too. He's obviously not showing it. Defensive tackle TJ Carter, no surprise, I don't think there. Wide receiver Anthony Johnson, he's floated around the squad for a couple of years now. He's gone. Corner Lafayette Pitts is gone. I think he was filling a role there with some injuries, really. Offensive guard Malcolm Pridgeon's gone. Wide receiver Matthew Sexton, who I said was in a battle to make the squad, well, he's gone. Again, he's someone I think you could see on the practice squad. And they cut Lamont Wade as well, who I could see him being picked up by another team, to be honest, but, at least on their practice squad. But, Mark, of any of these players that we've just listed, and you broke the news to me this morning as well. You were like, hey, make sure you check this out before the show. Are there any names there that are a worry for you, or
You know what? Not really. Let's be honest. Hey, in the last game, if you can judge him on the last game, which we really shouldn't though. Brooks had a fumble. In Brown's last game, he played terrible in coverage. I didn't see what TJ Carter did. Maybe Anthony Johnson. I know that he had a touchdown or did some good reps on the receiver. Sexton fumbled the ball on the return. So there are a lot of things where they made mistakes, and they're more or less just mental mistakes. So not to do maybe with their skill set or what they are as a player. Maybe Lamont Wade, but I didn't watch him too much. Lamont Wade, but I didn't watch him too much along these games in the preseason. So But if you're making the mistakes and you see them on film, and maybe it's more mental because like Sexton's one, where the ball bounced, you just have to let it go at that time. You've got three players on you. There's nothing to make out of that play, and he goes for the ball and then fumbles it. So that's something that you've got to, heading into your NFL career, you've got to make sure like you can't make these mistakes, because if that's a playoff game, this is what these coaches want. If that's a playoff game, then you don't want that decision making to happen. So it really gave the spot to Ray or someone else who might be there. And then with the Brooks too, he was the fifth guy on the running depth chart, and he fumbled the ball, and you just can't do that as well. So it doesn't help their cause, no matter how fast they are or how good skill player they are. These mental errors will not help them get into the team. And if they get picked up, fair enough. But if they go to the practice squad, at least they can try and develop for the next year or so. It's not the end for these guys' careers. It shouldn't be the end for these guys' careers.
Well, I think a few of them it's interesting, like Tony Brooks-James, he's probably coming to the end of that road. Anthony Johnson, same thing. I mean, these guys will float around the NFL for another year or two, maybe, but, at the end of the day, we've got to get to 53. There's, you can't have 80-plus men filling 53 spots, right? So it is what it is. And quite honestly, like, I wasn't inspired by anyone, in yesterday's game. I don't think there's anyone that I sat there and went, you know what, you played a really good game. And, I'm probably going to anger a lot of people right now. Even like our BTSC colleagues are probably going to think I'm an absolute fool. But even Jameer Jones, right? Even I just sat there and I was like, you know what, like, this was your chance to really cement it, and I worry about both him and Roche and is this in Tuzar Skipper 2.0 situation? I just wasn't enthused yesterday. The only person was Loudermilk. I actually thought Loudermilk played really well. I thought his pressure, he looked like he was lacking a bit of juice when he went after the quarterback. But he was there. He made a difference. He still put the guy under pressure, forced a challenging throw. I'm excited for him. I think if you think about how far Carlos Davis has come on, and you think about Loudermilk just sitting behind, learning behind Alu to it, and then Cameron Hayward, who is meant to be, they're trying to see if he could live up to even half that hype. He could be one of the steals of this draft, same as Dan Moore Jr. But I just want to give a bit of airtime to Loudermilk, because I think over 2 games he's really consistently showed that he can make a difference. And for me, I'm just excited to see what he can do, particularly in easing some of the reps off some of those 3 veterans that we just spoke about there. But I don't know, how are you feeling about Loudermilk, Mark?
I thought he played pretty well. Like I believe he got the sack, didn't he? In that one.
Yeah.
Or who was part of it. And I think, Marsh and some other guy was in there too. And it's actually Marsh seems to always be around there, but he's there, but doesn't make too much effort for it. But I think yesterday's game with, the D-line played pretty good in certain aspects. I didn't like same with you, with Jameer Jones and Marsh and those guys on the outside, and no one really rushed the quarterback. If I can pick on Marsh for a little bit, I think we can all in agreement in this. Can we cut the bloke? Like I just don't really see if he's going to be. If he's a Steeler, I don't understand. And this is me. This is Juju 2.0. All right, I'm going to go for Marsh, because a lot of players I see him play yesterday, there was no fire in his belly, man. There was none. He was just, okay, I'm going to break the snap, stand up, put my hands on the guy, and look like I'm trying to pass rush. None. There was one breakout route as well where he was going for the quarterback, and even you and I would put our hands up. He just continued to run like he was a player on Madden, like going for the heat-seeking missile, but he was going about 3 miles per hour to get there. Now, in most games or players, you put your hands up when the ball's been thrown, because you know where the ball's going to go. Like, I don't understand how if you're running like that and you have that tenacious energy to go and kill the quarterback, put your hands up. Stop it. Do what every other.
But the other thing too is half of these guys pick up basketball or come from a basketball background. Like, your arms are always up. What are you doing? It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
I couldn't believe when I saw it. I was like, he's just running to the quarterback. He's going to throw the ball. So what do? Arms down, ready for a tackle, and you're still 2 feet away. However, if you're better at I don't know. Is it geometry? That's not. Is that shapes and sizes? or is that rocks?
Geology is the rocks.
I'm just saying, man, he was so close, and he could have put his hands up and jumped up and affected the play. Maybe not got the interception or the deflection, but he just ran there and then nothing happened. So Marsh, to me, doesn't have a fit in this squad. Even Jameer Jones didn't play too well for the edge yesterday. And you said it. These players had this game yesterday, that we needed someone to go, oh, I want my spot. This is my job. And no one did that. No one. Not one player said it's my job. Everyone said, oh, I'm going to play really bad. And who wants the job, basically, and said what the coaches, they gave the coaches a harder choice, really. Maybe an easier choice. I don't know.
Yeah. And this is it. And I mean, look, we will contextualize it. Brian Brown says, I no longer think our backups can beat other team starters. Yeah, that's true.
Fair enough.
We had all the stars. But the point being, it goes back to exactly what what you said there, Mark. Who wants to step up? Who wants to lead? Who wants to fight for their job? I mean, you think about guys we've had in the past, like a Mike Hilton or a Mark Gilbert, or, there are a bunch of other players you can list off, even, a James Harrison, right? The guys that don't come from a top, draft pedigree, that come in and really fight. And these are the sort of games that they show up. And, I think about someone like Trey Norwood, who I cannot see missing the squad. I like Trey Norwood. His versatility is fantastic. But he looked off, and I know he was doing things in the nickel yesterday and what have you. But there was the interception that he dropped. And when you saw it live, I was like, oh, that wasn't the easiest thing to get. But when you saw it when they reversed the camera around and you were behind his back, so you're in the Steelers, the end zone they were defending, and you looked at it, you were like, oh, that's a bad miss. And he just seemed off constantly, when he was on the field. And I know he wasn't really playing a position, or in the scheme that he's really familiar with. But, like, this is just one example that demonstrates how yesterday's game just left you feeling a bit, you know what I mean? Like, and so when you wake up today and you see like the 9 players released, it's like, yeah, good. Let's cut the fat kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it definitely did. It could have made the job a little bit easier. But this is the thing where they were versing the number ones or versing like 3 or 4s, right? Let's be realistic. It really was like that. However, I think in competitive sport, I guess the skill would be different, but the mental attitude, you can be the worst. I don't know. You can be the worst football player, but have the best attitude, and you might be one of the best ever. So I think there was no when I watched the game yesterday, it felt like all 11 players on each side, offense and defense, knew their role, but they didn't know their teammates' role. They didn't know who the guy next to them. They had no idea what they were doing in defense or offense. There was a play where I saw it was even Dotson and another bloke blocking, and they went the exact opposite way blocking to where I think it was the end round. Someone else might have been Claypool. That was a 10-yard play, but still they didn't seem very synced. Haskins kind of looked a bit off, and I think he played well over the preseason, but he looked a bit off in certain things. He was getting pushed in the pocket. Snell, I don't know if we're going to go into this, but Snell didn't run.
Well, can I just say, before we get into Snell, George Teston says Haskins needs a car wash to throw to. He refers back to the comments. I think Big Ben made them earlier in the preseason or off season that Haskins could throw a ball through a car wash, something to that effect. But yeah, I mean, let's jump into Benny Snell. But I wanted to bring that up before we lost it because the live chat. It's so good to see so many people in here. But. It's we just want to. I don't want to lose the comments, but I want to keep moving as well. So yeah, look, Snell's an interesting one. I mean, and I'm like live chat. Tell us, what did you think of Snell? But Mark, your opinion. Where are we sitting with Snell?
You just got to run more than 2 yards. I'm sorry, you really do. You just got to.
But all right, play devil's advocate, right? And I'm only trying to stir you up a little bit here, but. What about that? What if someone said, "Hang on a second, Benny Snell didn't have a good offensive line again to run behind"? What do you say to that?
I said that I've been watching a lot of preseason games with a lot of other players, other teams, and some other guys are cracking 150 yards. They're cracking 120. They're doing big plays, they're doing massive plays. They're doing check down Charlie plays where they're getting first downs. Even Jalen Samuels got 2 first downs, and he looked like he ran like like a better route or had better footwork. So maybe those fundamentals are coming into it. Because I saw what Snell did on a check down, Charlie, when his fundamentals for his feet, well, he just looked too slow. He looked like when he was breaking out of his route to catch the ball, he was already getting marked on a man from a linebacker. Maybe that's the difference from a really good player like Najee to break out of that route and crack one for 50 or 45 yards. But Snell just hasn't got that. Running into the line, he hasn't got the footwork to really push through the line. Doesn't matter who's in front of you. You still got to create those holes. And I just think in other preseason games, there's other running backs out there. So I wouldn't put all my tickets on to bring Snell back in. I would like do what you said. Like you'd have people drop off other teams and who else can I get to come in?
Yep.
You'd have to at this stage. He's just like he's running 2-3 yards and that's it. We had one yard. I had one carry for 10 yards, and I put it down to you're a worker, you're an employee. You've been in the business 3 years, mate. You got to do something.
It's true. But it's true. If you're in a sales role, right, and there's different terminology of what sort of business you are. The company I work for call it a ramp up period, right? There's a certain part of the time you're with the business where you're not going to make it. You're not going to make a sale because you're getting to know the business. But then after that, you got to make a certain amount of profitability, right? And everyone, it doesn't matter what role you do, if you're outside of sales. In a lot of companies, you need to sit there and go, am I delivering more value than what it's taking them to pay me? And pretty much that ratio has got to be a 2 or 3 to 1. Snell ain't doing that value to his contract. You can get someone else for the same price that's got more upside than Snell does. And that's my issue with Snell is that, he's been injured the whole time. He came in, he didn't really do anything. He's someone I could see on our practice squad. But the problem is, as soon as once you cut him, you got to basically go, we don't expect to get him back because someone else will put him there as their third depth guy. But I don't think he's what the Steelers need. Not when you've got Ballage. I think Ballage is earned his spot. I don't see him. I don't see it. Sorry, I shouldn't say I don't see it. I do see a world where he doesn't play the whole season with us. But at the end of the day, I think he's earned the right to have to be an option there as a backup sort of style to Najee and have McFarland. And I am glad you reminded me of it too, Mark. And because it is something that I stick by. I do think the fourth running back, if we're going to have one, is not on the Steelers roster right now. I just don't see it. So, but I think Chad brings up a good point on the Facebook side. Really good, regularly good to have Chad in the live chat as well. Good to have everyone in the live chat. But he sort of talks about, it looks very Randy style. Hopefully Canada was playing possum. That is the one lens that I think we need to look at everything through this preseason. And that is we're not seeing what they're actually going to do completely. We're seeing I think it was Jeffrey Benedict in the Slack channel yesterday called it vanilla. It was very vanilla. But if I think about Bad's appearance on our show last week, he had the Flavor Town t-shirt. I want it to be Flavor Town come the season, right? I don't want the strong vanilla bean that we've seen throughout this preseason.
They could be doing a lot of things in training camp, and I know I don't see that because it's hard enough for me to get the game here in Australia. A bit like yourself, we wake up and we get the news. You're 4 p.m. right? So they could be doing a lot of things in training camp that we're just not seeing, which is fair enough. But that game was it was really just like here's our offense, here's our defense, very vanilla. But I just think it comes down to a lot of mental fortitude. And it didn't really look like they wanted to be out there for some plays at least. The one player I think. The only one good play I saw was when James Pierre beat the receiver on a block and tackled the running back in the backfield for a minus 2 or 3 yards. That was one of the best plays I saw all night. Other than that, I didn't see too many other positives.
That's it. It's Betty no Jets, and we've got Mexico in the house. I don't think we've had Mexico live in the house with us on the YouTube side of things. So,
since you brought it up, you got to pronounce it. That's the rule.
Mexico?
No, Juan's full name.
Juan Manuel Arones Aguirre.
Oh, you did better than me. Good on you, Juan.
I did Latin. I did ancient Latin though for 5 years. So sometimes pronunciations aren't that difficult for me. It's amazing, right? Like I couldn't do much of it now if you asked me to, but I've been to Italy twice, and every time I go there, I can actually read a lot more than you'd sort of think. I'm almost surprised by it. Yeah. Anyway, is what it is. There's a lot of chat, live chat around TJ Watt's contract. Look, I'd hoped we'd see something yesterday. We didn't. Dave talked about seeing something next week. I think it's come out overnight as well. He's, ranked number 9 in the top 100. I think we now just need to get to the contract.
Yeah.
We're at that point now. We just need to see what that looks like. Sign him up. We know it's coming. I don't think anyone needs to be stressed out. It's a wait and see game. And the other thing too is people have to remember they're gonna have to get to their 53 probably before they do the TJ Watt deal, because that will affect what their cap looks like, once they work out the displacements. And, if you're keeping a veteran that's got a minimum that's higher than someone else, like, we're talking a couple of $100K potentially only difference, but they're things that they do have to factor in because it might help you keep an extra player. They've got to work out who they're bringing on their practice squad. And Dave brought up a really good point. We do a lot of talk about other people's shows sometimes, so I want to limit that sometimes. But Dave did bring up a really good point yesterday on the post-game show, if you didn't listen to it. And the point was, you don't have to pay a player the bare minimum of a practice squad. You can pay them more than that, right? So the Steelers could always keep people on a practice squad and pay them more, but that's obviously still going to affect what we've got for TJ. So I think we just need to let the Steelers figure out what the squad looks like, and then you're going to see your TJ Watt deal. I think Evan talks about, Evan's brought up in the live chat, TJ, he hopes he isn't going to be rusty. I can't see TJ being rusty, to be honest. I think he's been training. You've also got to think as well, he's going to come in. He might have a few snaps where, he's feeling maybe a bit off, but that defense is so ready to rumble. He's 4 years now. He's played in the league.
He's ready.
He's a professional. He's ready to go.
Exactly. He's a football guy, man. He's ready for week 1. I'm happy that he didn't play preseason. You don't need to wear the ties out. Like, you need him for weeks, 1 to 17 through. Like, you just need that guy there. I hope when TJ gets his contract, I'm pretty sure there's a new clause that all BTSC members get 0.1% of his contract. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that. That's fantastic.
I know. That's like $100,000, man. We're rich. Like, he called me up and said, Marky D, you're doing a great job in BTSC. By the way, in my contract, we're getting everyone from BTSC and the fans and the 57 fans some money. That's why he's waiting, because he's just trying to figure everything out. That's true. I wouldn't lie on this show. Tell you that.
He just wants to come on the show and say, "Down under."
Oh, that'd be the best, eh? You just cut me off and I'll have a day off and just bring in TJ Watt. Talk some.
No, you got to join in. You got to join in.
Nah. For the greater good, mate. I'd cut me off and put in TJ Watt. I'm not going to be. I'll just watch.
Well, Brian, our regular, says he's out. Have a blessed weekend, Steelers family. And that's why I'm bringing him up. Have a blessed weekend, Steelers family. We agree, but stay with us. Everyone else, stay with us. But Brian's a good regular. We've got lots of regulars in the live chat today. I love it. And I love the new people too. It's fantastic. I think Owen David's at work. It's 20 past midnight in England and he's listening. So, that's pretty epic. But let's keep going with looking back at some of this. Mark, we've got the Steelers have got some real riches at the wide receiver position this year, right? You've got Claypool, DJ, Juju, Washington. It's funny. People gave me a bit of flack around thinking Sexton could make the squad, and I agree with what someone in the live chat said. The fumble cost him his spot. I don't feel that Ray gives us much at the receiving position. But if you look at those 4 guys, is there any one of them that's really stepped up or surprised you more than you expected them to step up, or to surprise you? I mean, obviously, by the definition of surprise, that has surprised you this offseason? I mean, this preseason?
Before I answer that, it's very interesting that we're only comparing Sexton to Ray for the job, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's how come that's the pinnacle of what is happening is Ray has the job, or it's Sexton. Well, if Sexton gets cut, how come there isn't another 5th person to come in and take his job? So, Ray was good last year, and he's obviously now the 5th receiver. But because we had what we see on the TV is just Sexton back there, taking the kicks and he fumbles, and now it's Ray's job. but why can't someone else go back there? Or maybe the scenario with the running backs too. There's going to be a lot of cuts coming up. There are over, how many teams are there? 30 teams plus the Steelers. The Bengals don't count. But there are so many teams out there that are going to cut players with receivers. And if we pick them up, it could be another receiver and a kickoff specialist. So I wouldn't feel too comfortable because Ray's mind's like, okay, I have the job because Sexton stuffed it up. I don't have the job because I took the job by the, bull by the horns kind of mentality. But to answer your question, I would say, like Washington played well over this season. I think all the receivers played really well, to be honest. The top four. It's just who's that five guy, and do we need the five guy? We got Fryermuth. Let's be real.
But exactly. But I want it. So I agree with you. Do we need it? Do we really need the fifth guy when you've got Fryermuth, Ebron, who's a glorified who's a wide receiver and a tight end's body kind of thing. You've got Harris that's going to be able to do stuff as well. Even McFarland to a degree. I think Ray will stay for a bit, but I don't think he's secure. I don't think he's a 17-game player, in this squad. But the other thing as well, unless I've missed something and I've been living under a rock, there's a gentleman called Rico Bussey still on this squad, right? Now, and Rico has done return stuff in the return game at times as well. Interestingly, I don't know. Did he take the field yesterday? Because I didn't see him play.
I don't think so. I didn't see an 84 out there because the 84 is quite noticeable now because of the old guy or the other guy who used to play for us. So I didn't say 84. No. Was
he being wrapped in cotton wool? Was Ray having to prove his spot? I don't know.
That's a good take.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's a good take.
I don't know. Just find it a bit funny. It's like,
that's going to go viral like the made-up Washington trade. You don't know Adam Schefter. Because it really is. Ray's fighting for his spot. He didn't show too much yesterday. He got a touchdown, but that was in the garbage time minutes, 2 minutes. I would be happy to see whoever wins that spot, the fifth. They're still going to be seventh or even eighth because Najee can catch it at the back. Like Big Ben is not going there to be his number one receiver for our fifth receiver. They're going to Fryermuth, Ebron, Najee. So they're going to be more or less, we can have a guy who can do and be the gunner on special teams and a guy who can get at least 20 yards back on the punt return or 25 or, play it safe like that.
Well, I mean, when he was at North Texas, Rico Bussey had, he did do a couple of returns. One went for 53 yards. Now, I know it's college, but I'm just saying it's like,
I thought he played well. Like, we're judging the whole preseason. I thought Rico Bussey played pretty well. I think it was in games 2 and 3. He played well. He had some good contested catches. He had a bit of heart when he got knocked in the head and he still got up. And then he had that big play, I think, for 20 yards. So wouldn't count him out. If he didn't make today's cuts, it's a good sign. If he's still
He's getting closer.
Yeah. The other bloke got cut. The other receiver, so he's still there. So yeah.
Well, Cody White's still there as well. I mean, I can't see Cody White making it, but he did have a game.
He had a good preseason too. Cody White did some good catches as well, and he was put some film on tape. So I'm not saying he's going to make the team, but practice squad or some of those guys,
This Buckdown says, I just ate an entire chicken plus 5 sides. I feel like I'm going to puke. That's great. That's great. Do you know, Mark, I ordered a pizza on Friday night, right? And then we had pizzas. We haven't had pizzas in a while. And I ordered a second one because I love cold pizza. So I had the second pizza while I watched the Steelers game yesterday. So it was for breakfast. It was great. Do you like cold pizza?
I love pizza for breakfast is probably the second best thing besides pizza for lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like it's good. I don't know if I cold pizza too much because if I've got the option to heat it up, I'll heat it up.
I hate reheating pizza. You don't reheat pizza?
Why?
Nah. Actually, you know what? And this gets people, right? People are like, oh, you're either a pineapple on pizza person or you're not. But if you like cold pizza and you don't like pineapple on pizza, it does actually work on a cold pizza.
Okay, what are you then? Are you pineapple on pizza?
Yeah.
Well, don't be shamed. I am too. I love pineapple on pizza.
I am. Oh yeah. No, I'm pineapple on pizza. You can put anything. I love satay chicken pizza. You had satay chicken on pizza? Beautiful.
I certainly have. Mate, I used to work at pizza.
Peking duck pizza with the hoisin sauce?
Mate.
Beautiful.
I'm the guy. I worked at Pizza Hut for 9 years. I know what's going on.
Oh, mate, you know how to make a pizza.
I can make a batch of dough in 25 minutes. I'm your man.
Don't they come pre-done for you guys? Actually, Portner says Australian pizza with egg is disgusting. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Bacon egg pizza. I hate it. It's awful. My dad loves it. But
Don't do
yuck.
that. No,
that's grotty. No, not having that. Not having that. I used to I can't get them because, I can't have gluten and, I think, Mark, this, I'm celiac, right? So I can't have gluten, right? I think I told you this. Anyway, but before I found out I was celiac and when I didn't have as much of a problem with gluten, I used to love, the calzones, the ones that fold over.
Yeah, they're great.
Oh, mate, I used to love them. And the reason that we're talking about this is good football watching food. So it does fit with our podcast.
Well, to end my point on that, I've got this theory, right? So when I'm watching the game, I have to eat good food to match. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't, if I'm having I can't watch a game and eat peanut butter toast. It has to be a nice kebab.
Can't you?
No, I've got it. Whatever I'm eating, 5-star food needs to watch my 5-star NFL. That just has to match. So I won't waste cereal on a game. In the morning, I'll just starve myself. I'm not eating that's the match. I need to get a Subway or a kebab or a good pizza. During the playoffs, Super Bowl, I'll be going all out.
Oh, mate, I get big. I do a thing of wings a quarter in the Super Bowl.
Oh, you do different wings per quarter?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mate, you remember when Lone Star was a thing? I don't think it's a thing here. I don't think, there's Lone Star in America? I don't know. But Lone Star a big all you can eat American food place here. I was half a cup of chips away from breaking the store record once. I did 4 plates of the ribs, wings, and large chips. The reason that got me is I was drinking beer. I should have had Coke instead because it would have broken the food down. Anyway, I was just absolutely stuffed. And I was doing Movember at the time, so I had the beard, and I had all this food stuck in the beard, and they didn't have a toilet in the restaurant. You had to walk down the street with all this food out of my beard.
That's why they went bankrupt. They got no restroom facilities. Oh.
Buck Dancer brings up, and this is important. This is important. You hear us out, fam. But I make a double pizza. Try it sometime. 2 pizzas, and then. But I do that with this, and then he makes 2 pizzas, and then he puts them upside down and squashes them in. That's how I eat pizza. Each slice, I fold the other one over, and then
you got to fold it. You got to fold it. That is.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I love that.
Last one, Matty. I don't know if you're going to break yet, but last one. This is really good as well. On our pizza podcast, I make a chicken wing pizza. You take off the chicken wing, the meat, and put it on the pizza. I assume I've done that too. It's awesome.
Well, we've dropped about 10 people out of the live chat since we started talking about pizza. But King Hutchinson says, and this is Steelers related. Have you ever eaten pizza in Pittsburgh? I know you would have, Mark. But you haven't eaten pizza in Pittsburgh?
Honestly, I was probably too drunk to remember.
Yeah, you definitely had a slice then because they don't have kebabs over there. So
I was down south side a lot, down that way. That's all I really saw of Pittsburgh.
well, I remember it was the night after the Pittsburgh Steelers game, and we were halfway through our month trip over in the States, and we just, when sometimes you're on holidays, particularly if you're overseas, and you get to a certain point in the trip, and you're I just need a night in. I just need to gather myself and add it. Anyway, we had a good. We'd ordered we've got the junior suite at the. I'm having a mental blank. The hotel, anyway, overlooking, it might have been the Hyatt or whatever, overlooking into the stadium, and you could see it, this big window, right? And you could see into the Heinz Field. I loved it. Just across the river, it was beautiful. And we had this night in, so we ordered these massive pizzas, and we ordered the biggest pizza you could get. The pizza box was it's not very good for people listening on the audio side right now, but it was at least a meter or whatever, how many inches that is, I don't know, 24-inch, plus pizza. And we both had these 2. Oh, they were massive. It was hilarious.
But America does it different. And this is still an Australian podcast too, Australian pizza podcast. So America does it different though. Their pizza is dead set awesome. They're massive. They're just huge.
Buck Dancer says with 10 people left to go get. I must admit, I'm loving how much live chat there is about the pizza. Everyone's got an opinion on pizza. This is fantastic. It's absolutely great. Andrew Wilbar, who writes the website as well, says, sad to see Shakur and Sexton cut. We said the same thing earlier, Andrew. We'll have to have you on the show sometime as well. Love to talk to you a bit about some of the college guys. But look, with that, we're going to take a break here on Steelers Touch Down Under. Join us at part 2. We're going to keep talking about Steelers. What can we expect as we enter the season now? More roster cuts and, of course, slinging the slang. And Marky D will be back as well. But just if you're on the audio side, please flick over to part 2. If you're on the YouTube and watching us live right now or on Facebook watching us live, just hold on for a couple of seconds. And we're back on Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matt Peverell, joined by my co-host as always, Marky D, Marky Davison. Mark, you getting hungry now after all that pizza chat?
Yeah, that was a fun last 5 minutes. I still reckon we could talk about another 20 minutes because, it's just we can't go into it because it's Steeler podcast. But geez, that was a good conversation about pizza. Everyone loves it. You can't hate it. It's just too tasty, and calzones are really good. But I'm ready for this second part.
Well, and just as much as the Steelers. Are they, Mark, okay. I said it to you before we jumped on air, and everyone in the live chat want you to jump in. And if you're sitting there on the audio side and you're listening to this, in a couple of hours' time, or you're listening to us live, because I know I've seen it as well. These YouTube videos obviously get watches, or get views after we've finished, right? Let's talk about Panthers now. Do you know what? I could. We should do a food. We should do like a Steelers food podcast.
Evan, I honestly could, because in Pittsburgh there's some really good taco places. There was one that I had with my mate Ryan, took me over there, and it's like a Subway. You walk into a Subway, you choose your things, and you just choose whatever you want in the taco. It's brilliant. Sorry, Matty.
No, keep going.
Oh, that's all I really know was just that I went to this restaurant, and there's you can choose if you wanted to create something like on like a jersey and whatever you wanted to do with your everything you wanted, you could put anything you wanted to on this taco, base, anything, and it was like a Subway but for tacos. It's great.
Yeah, we did them recently when I last did some smoked meat, and we pulled it all apart and did like a brisket taco. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what I wanted back to the Steelers.
One more. Did you see Andrew? I'm sorry. Welcome to the BTSC Comfort Food Marathon featuring the boys from Down Under.
Chicken Parmesan. Oh, this is hilarious. Anyway. I heard the same. I've heard that as well, but he's not, because he's a Rabbitoh. He actually is. Oh no, Rabbitoh. What am I saying? Rabbitohs is NFL. Man, I need some pizza. I need to get back on the. Buck Dancer. Mark and I both have eaten at Jerome Bettis Grill. We both loved it. Actually,
3 times.
That was the devastating point where my fiance decided to be a Penguins fan and I'm a Flyers fan, and it sucked. Anyway, we won't go there. But back to the Steelers. We were talking about this before we got on air. And if you had to rate between 1 and 10, and as I was saying before, if you're on the audio side, we'd love you to do this as well. Let us know on Twitter. But if you were to rank 1 to 10, 10 being you're inspired, the Steelers are going to, win the Super Bowl. Number 1 being you're unmotivated. This team's going nowhere. Get ready for, Mike Tomlin's first, season of an under 500 winning record. Where are you feeling? Where are you feeling right now on that scale? And Mark, I'm going to start with you, and I'd love to see what people in the live chat think as well. Because, you sort of sit there after these 2 games and go, but at the same time, does that really affect how you feel about the Steelers starting team? So where are you feeling right now? It doesn't matter about, just if you were to sum your feeling up after these last 2 games.
I'm feeling the same average that Benny Snell carries, 2.2. 2.2 yards, mate. No, I'm joking. No. No, I feel pretty optimistic, right? I would say like a 6. 6 out of 10. I feel pretty good. Yes, the last preseason game wasn't what we needed to see. Actually, it might have been for a few players to wake up to say, hey, you're going to be on this team? Let's have a go. I feel we got the hardest schedule. We do have a lot of key players though. So we have Najee there. He is the ticket this year to really, ride Najee and see what he can do for us. And Big Ben's still there. The defense will be better, I believe, than last year. Funnily enough, we've lost a lot of players. So, and there's things to improve though. So I would say it's 6. Like I was going to say a 7 or an 8, but you need to improve to get to the Super Bowl and to win. And then I was also going to say a 5 or a 5.5, but that's not doing them justice. So a 6 out of 10 would be my standing right now that they have the confidence level. What about you?
Yeah, I'm about that. I'm about that as well, a 6 or a 7. But that's not to say, and I want to stick by this because I've said it for a while now. I've basically said it since the 2020 season finished. And Buck Dancer brings up the record of 11-6, and that's about where I had it feeling. But what I wanted to say was just that the Steelers won 11 games in a row last year, and we flopped when it came to the last few weeks through injuries, no bye, just generally bad performances and all the rest of it. But we, as a franchise, have a history of going into the playoffs or the postseason, whatever you want to call it, with a team that's not been the best winning team in the record, hasn't even won its division at times. So I want to see the Steelers get hardened, from a few losses. I said this when I appeared on Let's Ride as well. Sometimes you've got to go through a bit of adversity. So while I'm feeling a 6 or a 7 right now, that's not to say that this Steelers team can't win the Super Bowl or can't make a deep, postseason run.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to have to fix a few things. But I'm very confident that they will, because if you look at bringing in a guy like Joe Schobert, you look at the guys they drafted, they're ready to make moves. They've got a bit of cap room, which is, almost unfathomable from where we were sitting 2 weeks before free agency, back in March and Feb. So I trust the organization to get us there. Mm-hmm. But right now, I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't. I had high hopes for Sexton. I had much higher hopes for Shakur Brown. I wanted to see more out of that. I wanted to see more out of several players. So for me, I do sit at that 6 or a 7 mark, but that's not to say that I'm down and out on this team. Nothing like it. Because I take a good example. We didn't get to him when we were talking earlier, but a player like Miles Killebrew, mm-hmm. he's had a terrific preseason for me. Like he has proved it on special teams. He's proved he can be his versatility on defense as well. I'd be really disappointed if he didn't make it at this point. He was a lot of tackling the last 2 games right up there. They're the sorts of guys that we can fill in. And to me, he does a lot more than Jordan Dangerfield did. It's been interesting. But look, the live chat's now sort of saying 10-7 for us. 10-7 would be good. If we go in 10-7 and we're battle hardened, I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Mark, would you prefer to go in at 13-3 and to have routed loads of teams, pumping as you've been able to just run out the clock in a bunch of games, or would you rather go in a bit more battle hardened and you had to go through a bit of adversity and particularly with a lot of the younger guys, so guys that are in the first 3 years of their career, know how to bounce back. What would you prefer? Because I don't know. After 11-0 last year, it didn't do us any favors.
I think you always have to go into the mentality that you want to win the AFC North.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think you have to get. Now, if we fall short of that, then we get 11 wins, 12 wins, 10 wins, and we're still in the wild card, which we will be, because let's be real. Like I think these 3 teams will all be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Browns, Ravens, Steelers. No matter what order, we'll see what happens and that will play out. But the thing is, I think what we've seen the last few years, and we haven't won a playoff game in 5 years, we've had that spot where we've got the AFC North or we've got the really good position and Blake Bortles beats us. And then we get it last year where we had the chance to knock out the Browns and we didn't. And that maybe that scheme or idea to play Mason or to rest our starters. But you probably should have played Big Ben or your starters to get rid of the Browns so they didn't have a chance. I didn't understand. Looking back at it, I didn't understand that. Okay, why not knock them out there and not let them in? We let them in and then they beat us. That's kind of even more embarrassing as Matty goes off the sideline there. And he might be back. But my point is with the AFC North, guys, if you guys are still listening, I think I'm still here. Can I get some 5x5s? Yeah, I think I'm still here. He's coming back. But the point is, I think that with going to the AFC North, I think you've got to win that, and you can't just hope for the wild card. And I believe Matty's coming back in.
Sorry, I went to click on something on my screen that popped up. This pop up, and I accidentally hit the exit button.
I thought mine dropped out. I was like, I had to ask for 5x5s, but no one did anyway. It's cool. But
sorry about that. But what I was trying to pull up as this pop up annoyed me is I said it's interesting when we talk about resting Ben because we're going to talk a bit more about previewing the season over the next couple of weeks, and we've got our anniversary show next week, so everyone will have to be joining that. It's going to be bumper. If you've never listened to us live, please do. We're planning some cool things for that one. But when you've got when your last 4 games
might be your president here, Matty.
Present. But when you look at the last few games, you've got in December, right? You've got Baltimore at home, then you go to Minnesota, then you got the Titans at home, then you go to Arrowhead to play, the Kansas City Chiefs, then you've got the Browns back at home, and then you've got the Ravens again, right? That's a tough run home. Like Ben is going to need a break in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. Ben is going to need a break in the middle. So this is the other thing: is do we give him the break in the middle? And then we go into the postseason with a Big Ben that's a climate, he's back to being acclimated, he's in the rhythm of things, what have you. But then there's the question of, well, then you need Najee to be ready for that as well. So these are the things that are going to be interesting to sort of see. And this is the problem, is that if you go into those middle games, right? I think Jeff talked about it on one of his recent shows. You got to be 4-2 through the first 6 games. They need to win as many games as possible really quickly. I know that seems a silly thing to say. We want them to win every game. But they do really need to do that, because if they're up against it with their record, then Ben's going to have to play more. Some of the starters are going to have to play more, and we're going to be under pressure. And it's kind of like a debt to pay. If you think about it a little bit like a credit card, right? Like you keep paying, but then you're going to max it out. Steelers got to deposit some money and pay off that credit card through the season where they can. And the thing is, they're going to need wins to do it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I think was it last year that you wanted to beat the AFC teams more than you did with the NFC, and that might come into play too when you verse the Seahawks this year, because the AFC standings are coming down to the tiebreakers are different to the NFC. So, but exactly right. It's not like you're going to choose which game you want to win and don't win. It's just that it might mean more. You want to win every single one, but how it plays out, you've got to contend for the North. I think every year the North gives you the best chance to win. This year with the fans coming back in the stands for sure. In the playoffs, though, this is the year that I will pull all my hair out if we don't win the first game and we have played a really good season. If we have a really good season the whole year, and everything we've done, and we've done some fantastic things, and we're up like 11, 12 wins, and we go out in the first round again, that to me is alarm bells, and it just can't happen again, because I'm not saying it's on Tomlin, but I'm saying it's on the whole organization of like how many times you need to go to these playoffs and not have a run. Now, if we get beat by 3 points, and fair enough, but the last 2 times, I think they've scored 90 points. I believe, is it 90 points in 2 games in the playoffs? Just can't happen. It can't happen. No. So these things will all be addressed out for the season. And this season is a long season as well. It's a massive season. So we need depth in all positions. The running back, it's a huge season for these guys. Like, let's be honest. Like, I'm pretty excited to see the Bills up first, because the Bills will be a fun game to watch. They're counting us out, Matty. They don't think we can win that game. They really.
Mate, I saw the Steelers at plus 400 in American odds, or $4 for us.
No idea what that means. So I understand what the plus 400 means, but
$4. $4.
Oh, it's a $4. Okay,
yes.
Take it.
I hate that. It's not as bad as the way they do odds in the UK, where it's like 1 and then like some friggin' long fraction. Like, but we've been bigger on the sports betting for a long time. The legal sports betting side of things. For Still a Nation 412 says, with Mason starts the offense, it will be vanilla. But Mason can fit a lot of what Canada does. That's a lot closer to what Canada's system is closer to what Mason did in college, or the versatility there. KT Smith's talked a lot about that on behindthesteelcurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So, you can read a bit about that. But this is the other thing, is that I can't wait to see this team as we do get to do some of this pre-snap motion. I can't wait to see what they, Ebron and Freiermuth together, look like. It's going to be interesting when we come against the Bills. And that's where I think for the Bills too, they have no idea what's going to come.
Nope, not at all.
But how, here's a question mark, because I know how passionate you are about this. You said it all of last year, right? How disappointed are you going to be if the first play on the first drive in the first game of the season, Canada's first drive and first snap and first play as offensive coordinator is a 2-yard run up the middle like Randy Fichtner?
Well,
describe your reaction in one word.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
No, that's not a word. That's not a word. That's a reaction. What word are you going to say? And remember, this is a family-friendly show.
Jeez. G-E-E-Z. Jeez. Look, yes, okay. If it was a 2-yard run, if it's Najee, I think I'm okay with it, because I want to see what he can do throughout the game. If it's 40 times 2-yard runs, then you got to move the sticks, man. You have to move those chains. You have to do something. The one I really hated the most, to be honest, like that run, it's hard. Like Fichtner's offense was so bland and boring. Like you and I could see so many players. I think I texted you about what's going to get this ball with a fullback dive. They tried it.
We did have a lot of those. We literally had a lot of those. Or I'd be like, watch this. Watch what's about to happen here.
You knew that Juju went in motion. You knew he was getting the ball in the way they were set and the way the defender was setting. And a lot of the ones I really, really dislike is that screen pass to the receiver, and they catch the ball and they go back 5 yards and it doesn't get anywhere. And then the players know that's going to happen. It's like a college play. Now look, they run the offense better than I do. I can't do anything. But it's difficult to see when know what's
you've got the coaches, like last week. You've got the coach's notebook and you've got the coach's helmet.
We got it, mate. Like I just
mate, you got set plays there. What's all that? Show us the sheet.
No, it's just a roster, mate.
Oh.
Yeah. Look.
I have scribble all over the place. Like a doc. Anyway, back to your point.
It need to be more creative than last year, because there are times we honestly, so many fans around the world knew where the ball was going, and if they can't surprise us, that defense knows. Like that play with Watt. Let's bring Watt back up. I think it was in the playoffs of the Browns. I think he ran it twice in a row, and it didn't work the first time. It didn't work the second time. So what are you doing? Think that he just had zero.
You're talking about delinquent.
Yeah,
that's my new nickname for him after yesterday with that. And I know that he got thrown what we'd call a hospital pass, but I just call him he's delinquent for me.
It was a high pass from Haskins for that Watt in the interception, yes. But I just think some of these plays need to be a bit more creative, need to be a bit more. And if they're not creative and they know what you're doing, then run it down their throat. You have to do that. We see other teams do it. The teams in preseason do it to us. How many times yesterday in that preseason game did you see a 9-yard run, a 15-yard pass? And it looks like stock standard kind of NFL. And then we do that, and Benny Snell runs into a brick wall and doesn't go anywhere.
Well, see, this is the thing. This is the thing, right? People are going to be very upset with this potentially. But Randy Fichtner was like a cheese pizza. Not a triple cheese pizza, not but just a cheese pizza. You don't want a cheese pizza. You want a pepperoni with extra chorizo and extra ham and bacon and barbecue sauce and, you want like chili prawns. Like you want something, with, basil and olives and, you want some nice stuff. You don't want the cheese pizza.
So you kind of like saying Randy Fichtner was like someone giving you a free pizza, but it's only cheese. And you're still thankful, but you kind of wish you bought something else with your own money to get what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm glad he's gone. I'm so glad that he's gone. We have a new guy in there, and anyone is better than what we were predicting every single play. And then the defense has caught us out last year. Matty, we haven't done slinging the slang yet, mate.
Oh, we haven't? All right, well, let me bring up Still Nation 412, and then we can finish out with slinging the slang. I'm all over the place today. All over the shop, as we like to say, slinging the slang. Feetner was Mick Pizza. That's great. Steeler Nation 412 says, I don't think the O-line is going to be as bad as people are predicting it will be. We cleaned out the gutter. We lost old regressing players on the line. The newer, the better. He's right. I mean, DeCastro, if he played any worse than what he did last year, and I know he's probably been battling this injury for a long time, it wasn't going to help us out. Dan Moore Jr. will develop. I'm not as confident on Banner as everyone else is. I'm going to be really upfront about that. I'm a little bit worried about Banner at this point, to be honest. I know he'll probably prove me wrong, but I would have liked to have seen more time from him. And I think he's going to take a little while. I think he might come out of the gates a little bit rusty. But as Mark rightly pointed out, just as Big Ben likes to sling the rock, we like to sling the slang here on Steelers Touch Down Under. Mark, what Aussie slang or Aussie culture reference do you have for the listeners this week?
Well, I was trying to think of a pizza reference, but I had nothing in between that 2 minutes in between my ears. So I'm going to go with the one I wrote down. It's I don't believe we've talked about it, but this kind of fits the show. It's been yonks since we talked about slinging the slang, and we almost forgot what we were talking about. So in Australia here, we have for me and Matty, actually, I guess we need to see each other first. But anyway, if I were to say to a friend, like, I haven't seen you guys in yonks. So that's YOYONKS, yonks. And I don't know if that's another thing around the world, if you guys use that, like that in the live chat. We just say that like pretty much all the time, like, haven't seen you in yonks. And I don't know if you use that or if that's more like a coastal.
I think British use it. No, I use yonks all the time. Yeah,
but what does that mean to you? Does that mean...
Well, I would say like the Steelers haven't been in the AFC Championships for yonks.
For yonks, yeah, but that just means a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, what's yours this week?
I had, and I don't know whether you've used it before. When David she'll be right, mate. That's pretty Aussie. Mine was going to be fella. So instead of saying fella, it's fella. What a good fella. I know there's like good fellas, the show and whatever, but like, just like, it's just something like, he's a good fella, or, I don't know. I really like that one. And I was just sort of thinking about it. Like,
fella to me is like, it's more like a compassionate way of saying good mate. Like, he's a good fella. Like, he's a good fella. That, like, he's a good bloke. And then you're like, he's a good fella is even just a bit better. I like saying too, like, even with a lot of my friends are having babies now, and they have, little fellas, like little
fella. That's a good one.
Yeah, I love saying like stuff like that. Like
big fella as well, like as a compliment. Like.
Big fella, like that's Zach Banner. If we were next to him, he's a big fella. Like he just like holy dooly, like he.
It's kind of like saying "Hey champ" though too. Sometimes with big fella, like it's a endearing sort of.
Depends though. Some people. I used to work with a guy. I'm not going to name his name. If he's listening, could be a Steeler fan. I don't know. But he used to come up to me and like, say, "Hey, champ," and put like my hand on my shoulder. I'm like, "You're trying to put me down, mate." I should have.
Like condescending.
I should have said, "Mate, you want to go around the back and have a tussle and see what happens?" Because he did it all the time, and then I ended up like telling him like, "Stop doing it, mate," and then it was all fine. But I don't like the word. The champ to me is I don't know, a bit like it depends who you know the person, but fella's good. Like fella's cool.
Yeah, I just know it comes up, and I know you say it a bit. So yeah, I was just thinking about it. I was like, yeah, fella, I like it. Buck Dancer says, and I don't ask it in a rude way, how common is it to eat kangaroo? I've ate it one time in the USA. We eat a lot, actually. And there's a lot of like kangaroo jerky that you can get for like dogs and stuff as well. So our dog eats a lot of kangaroo bones and that. But I give you, like, when I first moved out of home, it was very, money's a hard thing to come by when people first move out of home. And kangaroo is very cheap, it's very lean, and it's really high in protein. I don't like, some people really like them, but you can get kangaroo like burger patties. I don't particularly like them. I think they're a bit weird. Like, I don't like the taste of it, but I love like kangaroo fillet. You basically slice it really thin, like 1.5 minutes each side sear it if you like rare meat, because otherwise it's too tough. It's almost like a wagyu sort of thing. It's beautiful.
It's funny though, Matty, because we are one of the only nations or countries in the world that eat our emblem. So for the new listeners,
like the BB ad.
Yeah, we talked about this maybe 6 months ago. But for our emblem, we eat our kangaroo, and we all, people eat emu as well. And we're the only nation, I think, or one of few that eats. Yeah, right. There's more pizza talk, but yeah, we're the only one of the nations.
There are kangaroo pizzas.
Well, hey, the kangaroo pizza.
You get kangaroo on pizzas if you haven't seen kangaroo pizza.
No, I've only eaten kangaroo, I think, 3 or 4 times. It doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we don't have it like on the barbecue all the time. We've more got shrimp, mate. We have shrimp on the barbecue.
Shrimp on the barbie. I think there's an important question in the live chat. Domino's or Pizza Hut. Can you mail me some kangaroo jerky? We could. I'm sure you can get it, but yeah, we could if you get in touch with us. Look, to wrap it up, Mark, people starting to talk about the Bills game. That's where it's all pointing to, apart from the roster stuff now. So where do you think, Mark? Give us a prediction. Do the Steelers win? And what will be the score? What are you feeling right now?
Well,
way too early prediction.
I'm going to bring up Tyler W here, and he says, I eat bison, and they're a Buffalo Bill, right?
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it?
And I'm telling you, I've eaten bison too when I was living in Banff. Bison is amazing. It's
really
when it's cooked really nice on a burger, like it's kind of, to me, it was like kind of like a bourbon kind of glaze kind of stuff. Like, it was just really, I don't know what it was. This was just really good, different kind of meat. However, they could have been a normal burger, and they just told me it was bison. I don't know. It was probably, it was just probably something different. But I believe we have a really good shot coming into the Bills. Like, let's be honest, it's week 1. We're the outsiders at 400 or whatever we are. We have a good shot, I think, for TJ and the fellas there. Minka, Bush, Schobert. Look, what's his name? Josh Allen he's playing well in preseason. He got the new contract. I don't see him doing 3 touchdowns or maybe 2. But look, it's going to be a hard game for the Bills, and the Bills can't take us lightly. Let's be real.
Yeah, for me, it comes down to Stephon Diggs, right, and the run game. So I think we need to really shut down their run game to force them to making passes that they don't want to make and put Josh Allen under pressure. But this is why, if Bush and Schobert can get it together, they're going to put massive pressure on a guy like Josh Allen. Like, whether it's what they're going to do in the coverage and, and the passing in the defense game there, or whether it's what they're going to do down the middle, that's going to become so important. But we got to sort out the cornerback position, because otherwise their wide receivers are going to run riot. I think they got David Knox back this year as well. Their tight end, that's going to be interesting. I think someone asked earlier in the live chat too, what's the score prediction? I see something like a 27-23 or something like that if I get out the crystal ball right now. And, I think the Steelers could be at the front end of it, but it'll come down to who wins the turnover battle and can we stop their offense. It's very key. I trust our offense. It's how do we stop their offense?
In this game, the turnover battle is very key. Like, if we have 1+ or 2+, and we have 2 more extra possessions to chew the clock down a bit more than what they have, and we're up by 10 points, and then we can possibly go up by 3 or 17, huge, because then it puts more pressure on them. And they won't go away. These Bills won't go away. They're a good football team. And if they're down by 10 points in the last 10 minutes, they will fight to the end. This is not a game that we have wrapped up if we're leading. We're in Bills territory. It's going to be a very hard game, and we'll talk about this in the next few weeks. But I just say don't count us out yet. I really wouldn't do all the other NFL listeners who aren't Steelers fans. Don't count us out just yet. It's only week 1, and anything can happen. I think we will see some. Like, I'm keen to see what Najee can do, some good football. And Frymouth too, he played extremely well in the preseason. So we have a chance. We have a chance in the dance. Let's go.
And to close out the show, Chris Pugh, who's a BTSC, he's got the BTS show as well, the Ohioans. He says, I think the Steelers have 1 more trade in them before the season, hopefully for another cornerback. Agreed. They're probably going to have to do something there. And that's what these cuts are about. They're probably going to see what these final training sessions have. I think there's 2 left, as you pointed out earlier, Mark. What happens there, who they're feeling comfortable with, and they'll work it out from there. There's talk about CJ Henderson. There's been a lot of talk about that. Maybe, but I mean, you got to remember where he was drafted and what he's done and how young he is as well. Like, that's going to take a fair amount of trade capital. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to have to give up to get him. All right, here's one, and I don't think they should be really trading Ebron at the moment. I think he gives us real strength at the tight end room. But would you trade Ebron for Henderson with a 2nd-round draft pick, Mark? And I know you're not big on the moves, but would you do that?
Only if the second tight end is just as good or better than what Ebron can produce.
So we have to pick someone up, basically.
Because who's going to be 1 and 2? You've got Ebron for number 1, and Frymouth is a 2, but he's a sneaky 2 because he looks like a talented athlete for sure. So you can't trade someone away and then think we're getting worse at the tight end room for sure.
And with that wraps up this episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matt Peverell, joined by my co-host as always, Marky Davison. As always, Mark.
Go Steelers.